بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to the Fiqh class. Today inshallah we will discuss the issues that invalidate wudu. We started discussing few of them last week, and today inshallah we will continue. The issue that we will start with today is the eatables that are prepared on fire or cooked on fire. If you ate something which was cooked on fire, like meat, do you have to renew your wudu or not? If you eat meat and you wanted to pray, can you pray or you have to renew your wudu? Does the eatables that are prepared on fire invalidate your wudu or not? Jurists, this is what you need to know. It is important to know first what's the issue exactly. Because the jurists agreed that at the beginning of Islam, actually you needed to. Because there is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ says, تَوَضَّأُوا مِمَّا مَسَّتِ النَّارِ. Make wudu of that which was cooked or prepared on fire. They agreed on that. But also they agreed that this was abrogated. What abrogated this? Hadith Jabir radiyallahu anhu. Jabir radiyallahu anhu says, كان آخر الأمرين من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ترك الوضوء مما مست النار. The last of the two matters of the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم was not to make wudu after eating what was prepared on fire. So that's the opinion of the majority of scholars, that this was abrogated, and it includes all types of meat, all types of all kind of food. Okay. Now, other scholars said, we agree with you that the ruling itself is abrogated. However, there is a specific type of meat that if you ate it, you have to perform wudu. You have to perform wudu. Which meat is that? It is the camel meat. And that's the opinion of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and some others. They said that if you eat camel meat, then you have to perform wudu. Why? Because there is a hadith where the companions asked the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do we perform wudu if we ate goat meat? He said, if you want, which means he gave you the option. Then they asked him, do we perform wudu if we ate camel meat? What did he say? He said, yes. What does that mean? You have to perform wudu. You don't have option in this case. But again, is that the opinion of the majority? No, that's not the opinion. The majority of scholars, Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, Malik, Shafi'i, they agreed that this ruling is abrogated and it includes all types of meat. Actually, here there is usuli issue, an issue that is related to usul al-fiqh. What is it? When we have a conflict between the general and the specific. Hadith of Jabir radiyallahu anhu, general. But here the hadith of the camel meat is what? Specific. So which one do you take? We have a rule, basic principle in usul al-fiqh, that what is specific takes precedence over that which is general. But the majority of scholars say here we don't have issue of majority of specific and general. Here it is abrogated totally. But they still say no, it was not abrogated. In general, everything is abrogated. This is a specific hadith. It doesn't matter the time. Why? Because when the Prophet ﷺ said, if you want from the goat meat, and about the camel meat, he said yes. Later, even if it was later that the Prophet ﷺ did not perform wudu from that which was cooked on fire, that's general. You have to say including camel meat. That's the opinion of Imam Ahmad. And actually some scholars agreed with him, like Imam al-Nawawi. Imam al-Nawawi is a famous Shafi'i scholar. Yet he agreed because he follows the hadith and he saw that hadith is specific. And that's actually a strong opinion. Again, here comes the fiqh when you have conflicting ahadith. Sometimes you could use abrogation. Sometimes you have to reconcile. Sometimes it is weak and authentic hadith. So it depends, whatever you believe is stronger. Again, it is the opinion of the majority that even camel meat is not included.
So for a specific obligation, something specific has to be said about it.
The Prophet ﷺ said about the camel meat, yes, you make wudu, then you have to have a specific thing abrogates that. That's what they say. The others say no, you don't need to. And actually we used to eat camel meat and then we used to start debating. Do we have to perform wudu now or not? Here it's not that issue because where do you find camel meat? Or how often do you eat it? But in general, you should know this ruling. That's one issue. The other issue, laughter during prayer. If you laughed while you are in the prayer, what's the ruling? Is your prayer valid anymore? Yes or no? No. Again, remember the nullifiers of prayer. One of them is what? Laughter. Are we talking about prayer or about wudu here? Wudu. So, okay, we say the prayer is invalid. The wudu also is invalid? If you laugh during prayer? Is it wudu or prayer or both? Only prayer, not wudu. That's not the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. That's the opinion of the majority of scholars. That your wudu has nothing to do with laughing. You are in the prayer. Outside prayer, just like now. We performed prayer now, right? And if we said a joke and we laughed, does it invalidate wudu? Of course not. So how come during prayer it invalidates wudu and outside prayer it does not invalidate wudu? Right? That's the opinion of the majority. They said that does not make sense. But again, when we come to the rulings, it's not always about what makes sense, what does not make sense. It is about the evidences. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he has an evidence that there is a hadith which is mursal from Abu al-Aliya. Mursal means the companion is not there. And the mursal, is it authentic or weak? Weak, in general weak, except for specific mursals. So it is weak. And that's why the scholars said it is weak. So you don't really have an evidence. In that hadith, it says that the people laughed during the prayer. So the Messenger ﷺ commanded them to perform wudu and prayer again. However, Abu Hanifa rahimahullah considers this authentic and that's his opinion. But what do you believe is the correct opinion? Not the wudu. Okay. So that's the issue. The next issue we have, if you carried a dead, you wanted to put him in the grave, or you were carrying him, does that invalidate your prayer? Does that invalidate your wudu? Does it or doesn't it? Some scholars said it does. Again, what's the reason of disagreement? There is a hadith, tradition. But scholars differed whether it is authentic or not. That whoever carried a dead, he should perform wudu. And that hadith, actually, believe it or not, some scholars like Al-Albani rahimahullah, he said it is Hasan. And if it's really Hasan or authentic, what should you do? You should perform wudu. But the majority, the vast majority of scholars say what? It does not invalidate prayer. Let's read this issue from the book. Please open the book Open the book on page 40. Issue 7. Read, please.
Issue 7. Ablution after carrying the dead.
Can you hear her? Go ahead.
One group of jurists deviated by making...
Here, I want to make a note. It says, deviated. Actually, that's not the statement of Ibn Rushd. That's mistranslation. Because deviated, it gives very negative meaning. It's not deviated, actually. It is differed. You could say differed. The word that is used, shadda. Shadda means from shudud, odd. That it is strange opinion. But it's not deviation. In fiqh, if you have the qualifications of doing ijtihad, you are rewarded at any rate. Even if you are mistaken. If you are right, you will get twice the reward. If you're wrong, you will get the reward once. So you don't say deviated. I don't know how they translated it here, deviated. Again, remember, it may be the correct opinion. It could be the correct opinion if the hadith is authentic. They are basing their opinion on the hadith. So it's not deviated. Okay.
One group of jurists differed by making ablution obligatory because of carrying the dead. There is a tradition for it that is weak.
He considered it weak, and many scholars also considered it weak. But as I told you, some scholars considered it accepted.
One who bathes the dead, let him take a bath. And one who
من غسل ميتا فليغتسل ومن حمله فليتوضأ.
And one who carries them, let him perform ablution. It is necessary to know that the majority of the jurists made ablution...
Okay, now that's the issue. I wanted to pay your attention only to the word. After that, now that concludes the issue of nullifiers of wudu. Next, he mentions one of the things that scholars agreed, which is the invalidation of the wudu if the senses were gone. If you are unconscious, then you need to do wudu again. And that's why when we said about sleeping, that the strongest opinion is that strong sleeping invalidates wudu. Okay, read please. It is necessary.
It is necessary to know that the majority of the jurists made ablution obligatory due to the loss of senses, whatever its cause, like fainting, insanity, or intoxication. All of them held it to be analogous to sleep. That is, they maintained that if sleep makes ablution obligatory in a state that normally leads to hadath, namely sound sleep, it is appropriate that the loss of reason should cause this too. These are the issues of this chapter that are agreed upon or are widely known to be disputed. We must now move on to the fifth chapter.
There are some few other issues actually, but they are very, very deep and it takes very advanced step to discuss them. Now we will move to the next issue. We know that we need wudu for prayer, but what do we need wudu for also? In addition to prayer, what are the acts that wudu is requirement for them? Qira'at al-Quran. What's the evidence? What's the evidence that it is required when you pray to perform wudu? For wudu, for prayer, what's the evidence that you need to perform wudu to pray?
You cannot touch the Quran except if you're purifying.
I'm talking about prayer, not Quran now. Yes, that's the essence. Read the beginning. Again, remember, you need to know the evidence. Back, page 40. Let's read the introduction.
The basis of this chapter are the words of the exalted, O ye who believe, when ye rise up for prayer, wash your faces and your hands up to the elbows, and lightly rub your heads and wash your feet up to the ankles.
So that's the basis of this chapter.
And the words of the Prophet
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Allah does not accept prayer without purification, nor charity from misappropriated proceeds. The jurists therefore agreed that purification is one of the conditions of prayer. Because of these evidences, though they differed on whether it is a condition of validity or a condition of obligation.
Okay, do you understand what does it mean? Condition of validity or condition of obligation? شرط صحة أو شرط وجوب. What do you mean by that? Can you tell me? That will come in usul al-fiqh, inshallah. But what's the difference between شرط صحة and شرط وجوب? Hello?
Shart wujub, that it is mandatory.
Okay.
Shart saha is mandatory for an action that you need to do. If you don't do this, your action after that will not, it could not be validated. Then you have to do wudu
Okay.
for your prayer to be valid.
Uh-huh.
This is a shart saha for the action that comes after.
So what is the obligation then?
Wujub, regardless if you're going to do an action after it or you won't. It's a wajib that you have to do.
Very close, actually. But the first one is correct. The second one, shart wujub, condition of obligation, it does not become obligatory until this happens. So you have nothing to do with it. Like what? Zakah. When we say zakah is obligatory, one of the conditions of the zakah is reaching the nisab. Now, reaching the nisab, $1,200. If you don't have what's this condition? $1,200. Yes, for wujub is zakah. In order for the zakah to become wujub. But condition of validity, if you don't do it, it is invalid. So that's the difference. You may come across some terms like that. You need to know what they are. If you don't know, you put them aside and you study them, or you ask, and it will be clarified. Okay.
They did not disagree that it is a condition for all forms of prayer, except the funeral prayer and prostration.
That's interesting issue. Okay, now, if we perform prayer, funeral prayer, do you perform wudu before it? Some people, you hear them calling for janazah prayer. And you came and you just prayed. You don't have wudu. What do you think? Can you pray without wudu or not? Yes or no? Why? Why?
Wudu is short for salah.
For prayer, but this is janazah. This is janazah.
It's a type of prayer.
It's a type of prayer. But janazah, does it have ruku'? Does it have sujood? So why then you ask me to do wudu for it? I'm asked to do wudu for the prayer where I prostrate, where I bow, where I...
Didn't you say that prayer is the salah?
Yes. See here, the vast majority of scholars said that it is wajib because it is prayer. It is prayer. You start with takbir and you end with taslim. It is prayer. Okay, the second issue is what? Sujood. If you wanted to perform sujood tilawa, you're reciting Quran and you came across sajda. Do you have to have wudu when you perform sujood?
Last year we said you have to.
Because if you recite the Quran,
According to what? Shafi. But in general, do you have to? Is this prayer or not? That's the reason. Allah said in the Quran, when you raise for prayer. Now this is sujood, it is not prayer.
Well, you say Allahu Akbar and then
Yeah, but many of them say we don't say Allahu Akbar. So it's not really a prayer. That's why the vast majority in this issue, they said, it doesn't need wudu. It doesn't need wudu, it's only prostration. It's not prayer, it is sujood. Others say, no, that's the most noble thing in the prayer, which is sujood. So again, you need to know why they differed. Why they differed? They differed, is it prayer or not? If it's prayer, you have to do wudu. If it's not, you don't have to do wudu.
So that same group is saying you don't have to have wudu to read Quran.
Not necessarily, we will come. Again, it is not defiant disagreement.
So there is some difference of disagreement about that. The reason for this are the different possibilities in the meaning of the term salah. They differed as to whether the term applies to the funeral prayer and prostration on reciting certain Quranic verses. Those who maintain that the term salah applies to the funeral prayer and to prostration of recitation itself, and these are the majority, stipulated this form of purification for it. While those who held that the term does not apply to them, as the funeral does not involve bowing or prostrations, and there is no standing or bowing on prostrations of recitation either. They did not stipulate this form of purification for it. There are 4 issues related to this chapter under the main issue.
Okay, we'll discuss those 4 issues. The first issue, touching the Quran. Can you touch the Quran without wudu? If this is a Quran, let's say, can you touch it without wudu? Forget about last year, this year. Can you or can't you?
Some people do, some people don't, from what I know.
What's the evidence if you say you cannot? And what's the evidence if you say you can? It is Quran. Can you or can't you?
Well, subhanAllah, in the Quran it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that no one touch it.
Exactly. لا يمسه إلا المطهرون. What does that mean? You cannot touch it unless you are purified. And that's the opinion of the 4 Imams. You cannot touch the Quran without wudu. Zahiriyya and other scholars said, no, you can. You can touch it. If you performed wudu, are you purified?
Yes.
Can you call yourself purified?
After wudu?
Yeah.
Yes.
You performed wudu, but you are not purified. You are giving yourself, you are recommending yourself, you are praising yourself. Here in the ayah, لا يمسه إلا المطهرون, they say, it means the angels. Who are al-mutahharun? The angels. So it has nothing to do with the humans.
So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mean by yamassuhu?
What did Allah mean by yamassuhu? No one reveals it, sends it down to the Prophet ﷺ except for the angels. That's what they mean, but that's not what the majority of scholars say. The 4 Imams say no, it is the humans. So the reason of disagreement is what? The interpretation of this ayah. And some say la means prohibition. Others say la is not prohibition, it is a report, khabar. It is only a report that no one touched it, but no one sent it down but the purified. So that's the reason of disagreement. But which opinion is stronger? Of course, the first opinion is stronger. That's the apparent meaning of the ayah. That it is a condition. So you don't touch the Quran without wudu.
Is that what Ibn Abbas said?
You don't touch the Quran without wudu. The next issue that we have is the wudu due to sexual intercourse. If someone had sexual intercourse, what should he do? Ghusl. Some say you have to do wudu. But in specific cases, we're talking about specific cases. Someone had sexual intercourse, and he slept. Can he sleep without performing ghusl?
You could, but you're supposed to have wudu before you go to sleep. Sunnah of Rasulullah.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You could, but you should what?
You should have wudu.
Wudu or ghusl?
Well, you have to have ghusl to have wudu. You can't perform wudu if you're not tahir.
So this is one of the issues. Someone wanted to sleep, and he had intercourse. Can he sleep? Some scholars differed. Some say yes, some say no. You have to do wudu because that's what the Prophet ﷺ said. Umar radiallahu anh asked the Messenger ﷺ, can someone of us sleep if he had intercourse? He said, yes, if you perform wudu. So some scholars like Al-Zahiriyya understood from this that if you did not, you cannot. That's the meaning of the hadith. The apparent meaning, you can sleep if you perform wudu. The implied meaning, you cannot sleep if you perform wudu. Others said, no, this is a recommendation. You still can sleep, but you are supposed to perform wudu. This is one issue. Another issue, someone had sexual intercourse. Then he wanted to have intercourse again. He's, mashallah, married for more than one wife. He went to more than, or he was, whatever. He wanted to have sexual intercourse again. Can he do that, or he has to perform wudu?
Between the two?
Yeah.
Well, I read in the Bukhari that the Prophet ﷺ sometimes performed ghusl between and sometimes did not.
We're not talking about ghusl, we're talking about what? Wudu. Again, what's the reason of disagreement here? The conflicted ahadith. The ahadith. And all of them were reported from the Messenger ﷺ, which means it is permissible. It is permissible, but you are supposed to. It is recommended to do wudu. So let's read the issue, because actually many people don't even know that it is recommended to do this thing, to perform wudu.
How can you perform wudu without ghusl?
That's the sunnah. That's the sunnah.
It does not mean that you can make wudu.
Yeah, that does not mean you can pray now, or you can, but this is wudu and that's ghusl. There are two things. Read, please. Issue 2.
Obligation of minor ablution for one involved in a major impurity.
Even in a major impurity, that's actually inaccurate also. Why? Because it is talking about one specific impurity. Like, we're not talking about haid, postnatal, or menses. We're talking about only the janaba. Okay, read, please.
The jurists disagreed about the obligation of performing the minor ablution for a person who was sexually defiled in certain cases. The first is when, having committed a major hadith, he wishes to continue sleeping. The majority upheld the recommendation of ablution, but not its obligation.
Okay, that's the opinion of the majority.
The Zahiris maintain that it is obligatory because it is established from the Prophet
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam
through the traditions of Ummah that he asked the Messenger of Allah
Sallallahu
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam what he had to do when he is involved in a major hadith.
Again, أيتوضأ أحدنا وهو جنب أيرقد أحدنا وهو جنب.
Like intercourse or seminal discharge during the night. The Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to him, perform ablution and wash your penis and go to sleep. This is also related from him through Aisha. The majority choose to construe the command as a recommendation and to regulate the literal meaning due to its incompatibility with the obligation of purification when the intention is to go to sleep. That is legal compatibility.
Do you understand this? Construe the command as a recommendation and to relegate the literal meaning due to its incompatibility with the obligation of purification when the intention is to go to sleep. That is legal compatibility. Do you understand this or not?
If you're laying down and you feel sleep, it's different than you get up and went to bed and go to sleep.
No.
This has intention, the other one didn't.
No.
It's so easy to understand what the Rasul said.
Yeah, exactly. What the Prophet ﷺ said. No, because the Zahiriyya say, since the Prophet ﷺ said, you perform wudu, you wash your private part, and you sleep. That means this is a command. It is not recommendation. How come you say recommendation? They came and said it's recommendation for two reasons. First, because even when you perform wudu, you can still unable to pray. You are unable to pray. You cannot pray. So there is incompatibility. This is one thing. But the main thing actually, which is the evidence that it is not mandatory, that the Prophet ﷺ himself did it. So since he did it, it becomes not obligatory. In principle, what the Zahiriyya said is correct, that the Prophet ﷺ told him, perform wudu and sleep. If it was possible to sleep without performing wudu, why the Prophet ﷺ tells him, perform wudu then. But because he himself did it, the Prophet ﷺ, then it is permissible. So that's why it became, instead of mandatory, it became recommended. But the reason they gave here in the book, that because there is incompatibility. Okay.
They, the majority, also argued for this on the basis of other traditions, the most authentic of which is the tradition of Ibn Abbas, that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ once returned from the privy and was brought food. It was said to him, "Should we not bring you water for purification?" He replied, "Am I going to pray that I should perform ablution?" In some versions it was said to him, "Would you perform ablution?" He replied, "I have not resolved to pray as yet, so that I may perform ablution." Seeking support from this is weak, for it is one of the weakest kinds of implications of the text. They also argued on the basis...
Yes, always when you have a hadith with what we call clear meaning, manifest, and something implied, which is stronger? What is manifest, not what is implied. Here to derive something implied from the hadith is weak. The same thing when the Zahiriyya said, that means you cannot sleep, because the Prophet ﷺ told him, perform wudu and sleep. Okay, that's why he said it is weak.
They also argued on the basis of the tradition of Aisha that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ used to go to sleep after being involved in a major hadith without touching water. This, however, is a weak tradition. Likewise, they disagreed about the obligation of ablution for the person with a major hadith when he wishes to eat or drink.
Also, this is another thing. Can you eat or drink after intercourse without performing wudu? Some say no, you cannot. So let's see. Go ahead.
Or one who wishes to recopulate. The majority decided to drop the obligation due to the lack of legal compatibility of purification with all these things, as purification has been prescribed in the law for solemn occasions, rituals like prayer. In addition to this, there is...
Actually, even this is not strong. Whether, as I told you, we don't rationalize. We don't say, well, what the eating or drinking has to do with wudu. If the Prophet ﷺ said it, we have to do it. So basically, the Prophet ﷺ himself slept without performing wudu, which means it is permissible. He ate and drank without performing wudu, so it is permissible. It's not the issue of compatibility.
In addition to this, there is a conflict of traditions on this issue. It is related from the Prophet ﷺ that he ordered that a person with janaba wishing to repeat intercourse should perform ablution. It is also related that he used to cohabit and then repeat it without performing ablution. Similarly, the prohibition of eating and drinking for a person with janaba is related from him, unless the person performed ablution. Its permissibility is also related from him.
So that's basically the second issue that we have. The last issue is doing tawaf. Can you do tawaf without wudu? No? Why? Can you do tawaf without wudu? So what? They all agreed you can do sa'i. So what's the difference? It's not the issue of manasik. Why can't you? You cannot say no without evidence. If you say only no, then I say yes. I like always to go to the easier way if there is no evidence. The Prophet ﷺ used to choose the easy way, as long as it's not disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the evidence?
Do you need wudu for tawaf?
Do you need wudu for tawaf? Why?
When Aisha was having menses.
Menses. We're not talking about major impurity. Minor impurity. Yes, if you don't have major purity, that's a different issue. Someone does not have only wudu, not junub. I agree with you. Junub cannot. Which means you agree. Thank you very much. I did not receive answer either from online or from you. Salah.
Said that Tawaf is Salah.
Is that what you just read?
No, we spoke about this.
At-Tawaf bil-Bayti Salah. Exactly. The Prophet ﷺ said, circumambulating the house is what? Prayer. What does that mean? You must have wudu. Do we prostrate in Tawaf? No. Can we talk in Tawaf? Yes. So what does it mean? I agree with you, it is Salah in the sense that it is dua. But you don't have to do wudu. The majority of scholars said you have to have wudu. The majority of scholars, except for Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. Based on this hadith, again, you need to know the evidence. You cannot just say that, yes, you have to have wudu. You cannot perform tawaf without wudu. What's the evidence? The Prophet ﷺ made tawaf like salah. Is wudu mandatory for salah? The answer is yes, so the same thing for tawaf. And that's actually the stronger opinion. But still, some Hanafi could argue with you, and they have also a strong opinion. That it is salah in the reward, in the meaning, but not in all conditions. Because you don't prostrate, you talk in tawaf.
It's okay, I perform wudu and they don't.
That's rationalized.
So that's the issue. And with this, inshallah, we'll conclude the session of today for fiqh. Is there any questions about the issues that we discussed today? What about the dhikr? Can you recite Quran? Recite Quran without wudu? Some scholars argued and said no. And that's the end of this chapter. Can you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without wudu? Yes, the Prophet ﷺ, as the companion said, used to mention Allah at all situations. Unless he is what? He has major impurity. If you are on janaba, can you recite Quran? No. Okay. Any other questions? So that's the end of it. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.